Mic check, 1 2 check. I finished setting everything required to shoot this video about 30 minutes ago. I set up my camera, my lights, my audio system, and here I'm trying to start shooting this video and it's still raining. I can hear the sound of rain hitting my roof and I've been like, should I leave this video until tomorrow or should I just go ahead and shoot it anyway? What do you guys think? Alright, let's do this together. Hello everyone, my name is Abuze. It's been a while. I know I promised you guys a lot of content on this channel that has to do with lighting, that has to do with shooting outdoor images, because I believe most of you guys knows me with shooting outdoor images, but I still haven't started putting up this kind of content. Why? Alright, I'm very sorry guys, and I promise you anytime soon you will start seeing this kind of content on my channel. So on today's video, I'm just going to retouch an image. I know I put up a lot of skill retouching tutorials on this channel, but on today's video I'm going to explain the concept of frequency separation or skill retouching in a different way or different methodology for a lot of you guys that are still struggling with frequency separation. And I believe watching this video will make you to understand frequency separation or to understand the concept of skill retouching even more better. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. Alright, before we start, let me try and explain something. Maybe you understand the concept of frequency separation even better. Naturally, the light surrounded by you are always above your head, like the sunlight is above, like the light in your house is above your head. So what happens is, being them above your head, they always cast light on your forehead, your cheek, your chin, and then your nose. So you find out these areas are catching highlight, and then the side of your face, the side of your nose, under your eyebrow are having shadows. On a normal life, this is what your eyes used to see. So what happened is, whenever your model reach to a makeup artist, what the makeup artist does is try to enhance this highlight and then this shadow so that the face of your model will look more structural, will have more structure, will look more pronounced. Oh, let's use the word structure. So the face of your model will be more structural. So what you are going to be doing in Photoshop while doing frequency separation is to also keep this low, keep this concept that your eyes used to see always. This highlight on your forehead, the cheek, the chin, and the nostril, just as the makeup artist exaggerate this highlight and shadows, what you are going to be doing in Photoshop is to also try and maintain this highlight and shadows exactly to where they belong, because this is what your eyes used to see in real life. Because if you do anything otherwise, you will change the face or the look of your model, and then everything will start to look weird or unnatural to your eyes. I hope you understand. So let's get to our computer. So using this image that I downloaded from the internet, as usual, we are going to be using our action and create our layers required to do frequency separation. Just as you know, instead of you to always take your time and create these layers every day, it's time wasting. So these actions are just there for you to save your time. So what we are going to be using is, we are going to be using our frequency separation action 16-bit, since our image here is 16-bit. So if your image is 8-bit, you should always use 8-bit frequency separation action to retouch your image. If it is 16-bit, you use your 16-bit action, but it's always better to use 16-bit. So we are going to play our image, our frequency separation action 16-bit, since our image is 16-bit. So let's go ahead and hit the action. So as you can see, it creates these layers. So what we are going to be doing over here is, we are going to make sure we are just inside this box. We are viewing area that is having skin texture, that is rich with skin texture on the face of our model. So I often use areas like the forehead because these are the areas that I always place my focus point while taking my image. So these areas are always sharp than any other areas on the face of my these areas are always sharper than anywhere on my image. So let's navigate to the forehead, as you can see, and then you can zoom out and zoom in if you want to. So let's zoom in even more and have a clear view on our skin texture. I think this area is nice, and then we take down our radius to 0 and increase it just to the point where we cannot clearly see our skin texture. So like on this on the case of image, this image, I think 4.4 is nice, and then we hit OK. So here we are going to be using our mixer brush to retouch our image. So let's go ahead and select our mixer brush, and then here above, as usual, is where we set or we make the settings of our mixer brush. So as usual, we are going to make sure this very first icon here is unchecked, because if it is checked, it's this box by the left side is going to show the color of the foreground of our brush here, because if it is red, you are going to be seeing red over here. So we don't want any color above here, so we are going to uncheck, and then we check the second icon over here. Here remain custom, and then our weight should be 30, load 30, mix 30, flow 30, and then we make sure sample or layer is always checked. So going back to our layers, we are going to uncheck our high FS, and then we make sure our color correction layer unchecked, because this is the layer that we are going to be using our mixer brush on and smooth our skin and do the frequency separation. So we are going to make sure we are selecting our color correction layer over here, and then we zoom and start from the forehead down to the chin, because this is how I usually do. I often start I always start retouching from the forehead and then down to the chin. So let's go back to our mixer brush, and then we increase the size of our mixer brush. As I usually said, if the area you are trying to mix, like here in the case of this image, as you can see, the highlight that I'm going to start mixing, the area of the highlight is big enough for me to increase the size of my brush, then I'll increase the size of my brush. If the area is small, and then I reduce the size of my mixer brush. So the bigger the area, the bigger the mixer brush, the smaller the area, the smaller your mixer brush. So let's start with the forehead. As you can see, my brush is just as big, or almost as big as the area of the highlight on the forehead, and then I click, just like as I said, the moment you hit click and start mixing, the skin color that you click on, your mixer brush will pick the color of that particular area and stick to it. Like for example, here on the forehead, if I click and start mixing, right now my mixer brush is holding the color of the skin of this particular area of the forehead. So if I keep on holding the click and move my mixer brush to the shadow area, notice it will move the level of the highlight on the forehead down to the area where I am having shadow, which is absolutely wrong on frequency separation. So let's do Ctrl Z and undo. So whenever you click on shadows, you strictly mix your brush along the shadow areas. If you are moving to the highlight areas, then you will need to let go of your click so that your mixer brush will let go the color of that shadow area, and then you move to the highlight area, you click on the highlight area, and then your mixer brush will again pick the color of the highlight area, which is brighter skin color, and then you strictly mix within the highlight area again, and then until you are satisfied. While you are when you are trying to move to the shadow area again, and then you let go of your click, you move to the shadow area, to the next shadow area, you click again and select the skin color, and then you mix that area independently. I hope you understand. So let's go back to our forehead, and then we click on our highlights, and then we start mixing. As you can see, I am moving just in a little circular form on the forehead. I am not widely moving my mixer brush, because if I'm moving it too wide, it will start touching the area of the shadows, which we don't want to happen on the image. So for us to keep every color, we mix strictly within the color, I repeat. So let's go back to the forehead and click and sample that color, and then we gently move our mixer brush just around the color of the forehead. So if I'm moving to the shadow, and then I let go my click, move to the shadow area, as you can see, I click and sample the color and start mixing, as you can see. Here we go. And then if we are going to mix the boundary, the areas that are transition between highlight and shadow, the boundary between our highlight area and shadow area, we also click on the area and strictly move our brush within that area, as you can see. So if I'm moving up, I will reduce my brush because I'm moving towards the hair, because it's not proper to brush on here. We are only going to be mixing using our mixer brush strictly on skin areas. So areas that are having here, we are not supposed to do to be using our mixer brush on them, like the eyebrow, the hair, any area that is not skin. We are not allowed, we are not supposed to be using our mixer brush, as you can see. So moving to this area as well with even more darker skin color, and then I release my click and move inward again, as you can see. So whenever I want to move, I will always let go of my click, and then I move to the next area where I want to brush. So let's check back our high FS and see what we have done on the forehead, and then we check our overall the visibility icon on the overall folder here, and then we do before, after, before, and after. As you can see, we have made changes on the forehead. Let's go again, before, and after. And this is when I'm going to move downward, and then I uncheck my high FS again, and then I make sure I am selecting my color correction layer, and then I make sure I'm also selecting my mixer brush, and then I continue mixing. So this is one of the mistakes that beginners often make. You need to make sure you are paying attention to your layers here. You make sure you are mixing on the correct layer, and then you are disabling your high FS before you continue mixing. You are only enabling your high FS if you want to see your progress. You want to see how successful is your skill retouching going when you want to do before and after the effect of your mixer brush. So let's go back to our skill retouching, as you can see. And then another thing that I will want you to understand is this. Looking at the nose here, if you look at the side of the nose, it's having shadow, and then here on top of the nose is having highlight. So as you can see, we are having movement of highlight on the nostril, and then just by the side of the nose we are having movement of shadow horizontally, as you can see on the image. So what you are allowed to do here on this kind of situation is you are allowed to move your brush along with the movement of the highlight and shadows. Since we are having highlight on top of the nose here, so whenever I click on top of the nose, I will move my mixer brush just exactly along with the movement of the light of the highlight on the nose. And then if I'm mixing on the shadows by the side of the nose, I will also click on the shadow and move strictly within the movement of the shadow, because as you can see, the shadow by the side of the nose and the highlight on top of the nose are having the same shade, the same level of highlight on top of the nose, and then the same level of shadows by the side of the nose. So in this kind of situation, it's normal to click and move your brush just exactly along with the movement of the highlight and shadows. I hope you understand. So going back to our image, as you can see, just exactly on top of the nose, since we are having the same movement, the same level of highlight on top of the nose, I can just click and move my brush exactly along with the movement of the highlight, and then moving by the side of the nose, and then I also move my brush along with the movement of the shadow, as you can see. And then this areas is a bit brighter, and then I will move my brush strictly around the level of the high of the shadows of the area, as you can see. And then this area of highlight, as you can see, differs from this level of light on the nose. So I will not move my I will not click on this highlight and move it to to the slightly darker highlight on the nose. So I will just strictly move my brush, since the highlight on this area is different from the one on top of the nose. So as you can see, as you can see so always don't forget to increase the size of your brush if needs be, and then you reduce the size of your mixer brush if needs be, as you can see. As you can see, and then this area, as you can see, is having different level of highlight. We click on it independently, and then we strictly move our brush around the level of highlight on the area. If we are moving to this side, it's slightly a bit darker compared to the previous area that I have mixed, and I will move my brush also strictly around the level of the highlight, as you can see. And then here on the side of the face, I can slightly move my brush along with the movement of the shadow, as you can see. Also on the transition between the highlight and the shadows, as you can see. As you can see. And then going back to the top of the nose, this area is having unique level of highlight. So I will move my mixer brush slightly within the level of the highlight, as you can see. Going back to this other side, frequency separation is very simple if you take your time and practice it. And as I usually said, it's not something that you learn overnight. It's something that requires practice, practice and practice and practice. So the more you are practicing, the more you'll be better at it. So it's not something that you need to rush yourself if you are starting. I know there are a lot of quick learners that learn everything quickly. So if you are not that kind of person, take your time and learn slowly. There is no problem about moving slowly, as far as you are going to learn at the end of the day. So take your time and do it right. And earlier I made mention of taking my time to shoot, and shoot like almost 200 images, and then I end up giving just 5 images or even 3 images. Yes, I does that because I always need to make sure I take my time and get my image right from the camera. Unlike when I was starting photography, I used to shoot and give 30 images, 40 images, and I later realized it is what matters is not the number of the images we give, but the quality or the standard of the image you deliver. How will I even say it? It doesn't matter the number of the image you give. What matters is how good is the image that you deliver, no matter how few they are. Even if there are 3, it's better to give 3 perfect images than give your client 50 images that are not good enough, because if you give your client outstanding 3 images, timeless images, that will even that will make your client happier than receiving the images that at the end of the day, by within a day or two, your client will no longer find the image looking beautiful anymore. So the quantity is not what matters, it's the quality. Try and deliver quality image compared to quantity image. I hope I'm speaking sense. Okay. All right. Let me check back my IFS and see one more time, before, after, before, and after. Let's zoom out and do our before, after, before, and then after. As you can see, we have made difference with the frequency separation. And I know sometimes I used to remove blemishes before I start doing frequency separation, but remove blemishes is what is not the most important thing that I want to explain on this video. Is the frequency separation. So it's always better if you remove your blemishes before you start doing frequency separation. I agree with that. So even though we are going to remove the blemishes after the frequency separation, but it's always better to remove your blemishes before you go ahead and do frequency separation, most especially if you are working on an image where the model is having a lot of blemishes, which means you are going to be using too much of a clone stamp on the image to remove blemishes, or too much of a patch tool to remove the blemishes on the face of a model. So at the end of the day, you'll find out uh, too much of usage of this clone stamp of any of the blemishes removal option you are having on your Photoshop will leave some like kind of signs that you they will leave signs on the image that you overuse them. So it's always better to first use the blemishes removal tool you are willing to use, and then you later do frequency separation, because using the frequency separation after removing blemishes usually hide the imperfection left behind by your blemishes removal tool you have used before going for frequency separation. So as you can see, I think we're almost done with this frequency separation. Let me zoom out and see what we have achieved so far. So just like the face, when you are retouching the body, also try and maintain highlight and shadows exactly to where they belong. Keeping highlight and shadows is what creates structure on everything, not just image. Everything that you see that has structure is as a result of the presence of highlight and shadow. Because whenever you close your eyes, what you see is totally black. So there's no structure there. So the moment you start gradually opening your eyes, what you start seeing is light, and then you start seeing structure of light and shadow. I hope I'm also talking sense here. So let's do before, after, before, and after. As you can see, this is our image before frequency separation, and this is our image after frequency separation. But something that always happen if something that is inevitable while using frequency separation on your color correction layer is your mixer brush must have touch areas where it shouldn't touch, like areas of the eye, the eyebrow, the hair, around the forehead, or even the side of the face. So what you are going to do to fix these imperfections is to open your frequency, to go to your frequency separation layers and make sure you are selecting the color correction layer, and then you go over to your eraser tool. You can press E as shortcut to select your eraser tool, and then you zoom in your image starting from the side of the forehead using your eraser tool, and then you erase the effect of this frequency suppression mixer brush tool. So we are going to erase starting by the side of the face, side of the body, as you can see, and then we erase this effect. Sorry, you are going to make sure you are using soft round edge, not the hard round. So soft round is always better, as you can see. Then the side of the face, all these areas, we make sure if mixer brush touch these areas, we remove the effect. And then we also go to our eyebrow, as you can see, to the other eyebrow, as you can see, and then to the eyes, all these areas that are not the skin, we don't want the effect of our mixer brush to be applicable on them. And then going to the nostril here, we erase, and then to the lips as well, we erase, and then we zoom work and do a before, after, before and after. So the next thing we are going to do is we are going to remove our blemishes using clone stamp tools. Using clone stamp tool, just like I usually advise, it's better to remove blemishes before you go ahead and do frequency suppression. But since we already started with frequency suppression, as is the reason behind creating this video, so we can also go ahead and remove the blemishes after the frequency suppression. So let's go ahead and select our clone stamp, and then we zoom our clone stamp and make sure I'm selecting our high FS, high frequency suppression layer, and then we start removing our blemish. How we're going to do that is you are going to navigate to the blemishes you are going to remove, like this one. What you are going to be doing is you are going to make sure you increase the size of your clone stamp just slightly bigger than your blemishes. Then you go by the side of the blemishes where the areas is not having blemish, and then you hold Alt, you click on sample, and then you let go of your Alt, and then you click on top of the blemish, as you can see. So that's how you'll be moving from one blemish to another. You could just go by the side of the blemishes and hold your Alt, you click on sample, and then you stamp on the blemish. So that's how you'll be moving from one blemish to another. The more you remove your blemish, the better your image will look. All right, since removing blemishes is not the topic of the video, let's just take a look at our original image and then see the effect we have or the changes we have made after the frequency suppression. So let's zoom our image a bit, and then we hold our Alt, we click our original layer and see before, after, before and after. As you can see, we have made serious difference on our image. So basically that's it for today's video. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, share and hit the like button, as it makes a huge difference in supporting the channel. Let's see in another video.